Joining us to discuss this more is Fabrizio Goldoni, who's a political analyst from Hong Kong. We also have Mike Billington from the Executive Intelligence Review, who joins us from Hamilton, Virginia. Okay, let me first start with you, Fabrizio, if I may. So I guess it's pretty significant, this being the first overseas trip for the U.S. Secretary of State and the Defense Secretary. What message does that send, first of all?
Sorry? What?
Fabrizio?
I didn't hear, sorry, the question.
Go ahead.
Can you repeat it? Let's put it this way. I mean, this one is an important visit because it's the first time that the new administration basically is send high caliber personality, basically the Secretary of State and the Defense Secretary Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin to a trip, basically, that then it will be used to organize the meeting that they will have with the Chinese counterpart in Alaska. No? So this one is very, very important because each country, they have to touch base on some subject that are related to China. And on the table, there are so many things that are related to China. And I will divide completely two aspects. One is the South China Sea, and the other one is more the, let's say, China-India border, and eventually some operation in the Indian Ocean. Okay.
Mike Billington.
So is
I'm sorry. Let me bring in Mike Billington into this. Mike Billington, when we take a look at the people who are either critiques of the U.S. policy when it comes to its pivot to Asia and the ones who support it, we find different views. Many are saying that there is no threat coming from China, and this is just something that the U.S. is using, perhaps you can answer us, for obtaining their political objectives. What are the U.S.'s objectives when it comes to China?
Well, the danger is that that Anthony Blinken and the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan just last week released a what they called an interim national security guidance, which really reads precisely like Mike Pompeo and Christopher Wray and Navarro and these anti-China fanatics who undermined Trump's original intent to be friends with China and with Russia. But as you know, that was crushed by these anti-China, anti-Russia neocon types. And the interim guidance was really almost exactly the same. It says that we have to rebuild our alliances in order to stand up against China aggression. It even says that we have to combat what they call infrastructure and energy coercion, obviously referring to the Belt and Road. In other words, they consider China building infrastructure and building energy and power facilities in the third world is a danger, a threat to the United States. Now, that's really a crazy, a sick concept. And yet that is what they put out in this document and went through again how both Russia and China are great threats to our way of life and so forth. You know, raising 800 million people out of poverty is a threat to our way of life, I guess, in the mind of these people. But as Fabrizio said, Blinken is, after going to Japan and South Korea, he and Austin's then going on to India, so they're really talking to the Quad group. But then Blinken and NSC guy Jake Sullivan are going to be meeting with Wang Yi and Yang Jiechi in Anchorage. This could be a major turning point. We don't know. It's unfortunately unlikely, but Biden, despite his being very close to senile already, had a 2-hour call with Xi Jinping. And afterwards, when he explained that call, he was quite cogent, unlike most of his statements these days. He said that China has to maintain its unity. Whenever it's not united, it has been invaded. And he understands that. And he said that Xi Jinping understands that he, as president, has to go through the rigmarole of complaining about human rights and so forth. But as Biden said it, he understands that. In other words, Biden's trying to convey that this stuff is really not that important, but Xi Jinping understands that he will say these things. Now, the problem is that Biden has very, very little to do with policy in the United States. He is, I won't go through that now, but even Trump, who was a very strong leader, was unable to put policy through in terms of being friends with Russia and China. And Biden certainly will not be able to if you have basically neocon thinking type Democrats like Blinken and Sullivan. So this meeting in Anchorage is very, very important to see if, in fact, there's going to be some positive move towards ending this anti-China McCarthyite insanity, which has been sweeping the United States over the last couple of years and which is unfortunately continuing under the Biden administration.
Okay, Fabrizio, let's take a look at what the U.S. says that it's going to do, that it's going to, according to the U.S., it's going to lead with diplomacy, maintain its military might, and renew its alliances to ensure that they're fit for purpose to address the threats and opportunities of China.
Yes.
What message does that send when the U.S. says it's going to lead with diplomacy but maintain America's military might?
The message is that they have to, let's say, to be very, very close to the ally of the Quad, I mean Japan, Korea, Australia, and India, and to build a relation in order to strengthen the war capabilities, in this case, in the South China Sea, especially now. Now we're talking. Why? Because we have seen a report in which, say, the Navy, for example, the Blue Navy of China is improving a lot in terms of construction capabilities, numbers of vessels, capabilities of their missiles, and these kind of things. So I think that they want to strengthen what is the main object of the pivot to Asia, basically the containment of China. It means the line of the first islands. They will keep a very, 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 as I can say, strong eyes on this part. It means Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines for this part, and then going down to the Spratly Islands and so on. So this one is they have to be sure that the ally, Japan, Korea, Australia, India, is a little bit different. They put on the table a budget for an expansion of their capability. For example, we have seen the first numbers of coming from South Korea, where South Korea this year increased the military budget over 7%. I mean, 7% is not a small money in this period, okay? So this one, it will be the main focus of the trip. For me, the other part of the trip, the second one, the second one where only General Austin will participate, so it means that the India one, it will be much more complicated, okay? Because it's a matter of, there are so many things involved, but let's put it in this way, is not only a matter of in Ladakh with the conflict for the border between China and India, but there are strategic points that has to be solved. For example, India is going to buy weapon where? Because frankly speaking, India is moving now. So he has bought the Rafale fighter from France. He has already contacted Russia. They have a co-development with Russian industries, for example, for the BrahMos, and all of these important system. So this one is a really technical point. Is a most military things actually. So it will be a very, very, very important, this trip. And then when they will meet in Alaska, they think they will put together some kind of first approach to China policy for the next few years.